Hey there, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Alrighty. Hello there. Happy Monday. Go ahead, of course, and share the broadcast. We are going to be talking about some really good stuff today. The 10 most common financial mistakes that leads churches to splits, closings, and even foreclosures. There's been a lot of that talking going on. So I thought we probably need to talk about it. So get ready. Oops. While we wait to get some more people on, let me, oops, let me get my, hey Michelle, glad to see you on. Let me just get this going. Let me get Instagram going, you guys. How's everybody? Good. Let's see here. There we go. I'm doing too much. Hey, Pastor. Let me get this thing going first before I put it up there. All right. There we go, live. All right. All righty. Hello there, Instagram. Got you guys going. All right. Hey, everybody. So I want to talk about, I get my comments going here. I want to talk about what leads churches, of course, from a financial perspective, to closings and um, let's see here. Let's see. Hey, everybody. I want to talk about, in fact, you guys, I'm going to have to start and stop this back over. Let's see if I can. Oh, maybe I don't have to. I'm sorry. I want to get, all right. Well, anyway. So let's talk about the pitfalls. So thank you guys for joining me. I know it's been a minute since I've been on. Let's see. I am sorry. I want to move my Instagram camera so that I can look at you guys. Hold on one second. Uh, let's see. All right. Let me just get this camera. Sorry, you guys. Hold on one second. I know you're blurry. Okay. All right, that's a little bit better. So I can look at my Instagram family. Hey there. Hey, Pastor Danielle. Glad to see you on. Happy Monday, everybody. Now let's get started. So, in the news, on the Facebook news, there was a young lady that went live about inspirational Baptist church or Bible church. I'm not sure what the new name is in Cincinnati. And she was sharing some things that are actually in my teaching. And of course, I'm not on here today to talk about, um, you know, what's happening per se at Inspirational, but I do want to talk about how we can avoid those situations happening. I felt really bad that a member of that church would go live and share all of that, but I understood her side of it. So, a lot of times members feel taken for granted because of decisions that are made. And they may not fully understand why the decisions were made. And so, from a financial standpoint, you have to be very careful, particularly when you're dealing with nonprofits, because everybody that contributes, they have a say. I had a mentor share this with me one time, and she said, you know, Robin, uh, the way, this sounds terrible, but this is what she said. The way that church people really get their voice heard is to stop giving. Yeah, the way that church people get their voices heard in church is to stop giving. Well, it's really sad that you would have to go that far in order to get your voice heard. We know that everybody can't have their way done. I get that. But everybody has a right to have their voice heard. So, whatever system or processes you have uh, that allows that, yeah, then that's what we need to do. And too many churches, it appears, they don't have a system in place. They have a board, they have a group of advisors that handles, the conversation and the planning as it relates to the finances of the church. But how do you reach the person sitting in the pew that they have a comment? Again, I'm not saying that you have to do what the people in the pew want, right? Because you can't. If you got, 100 members sitting out there, you might have 100 different ideas as to how you should handle the finances, but you do owe them a way for their voices to be heard. So that's what we're going to talk about today, all right? Again, thank you for sharing. I told you guys that I am launching or rebuilding my YouTube page. So for those of you following me, please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube page. It's just my name, Robin M. Ware. So make sure I'm going to take this video. Once I'm done, that's where this video is going. So I'm not going to leave this up on Facebook. I'm not going to leave it on Instagram. It is going over to YouTube. So those of you that caught it live, yay. I really was going to do this straight to YouTube, but I wanted some feedback and some interaction. So good. Pastor Danielle said, this is good. I appreciate it. Hey, Rhonda saying good morning. I appreciate it. Rhonda says, I agree. This is a conversation that we need to have. Yes. So if you agree that we need to have, give me some hearts, some stars, some smiley faces, all that good stuff. So, all right. And again, share the broadcast because I really want this to be a blessing to many, many people. So I did some research and I actually found these pitfalls and I thought they were so good. And I'm going to, of course, add my own commentary. I want you guys to add your commentary as well. So let me get comfortable here at my desk. All right. Again, thank you for sharing. Please share on your networks. I really, really appreciate it. All right. So the 10 most common mistakes. And when I tell you I am coming out of the gate swinging, yes, I'm coming out of the gate swinging. But again, I found this online and I thought this was just awesome. And so I'm going to use it. All right. Again, I'm going to use this to guide our conversation. You might have another pitfall, and we can add that to the list as well. Hey, Lady Marla Hall, glad to see you on. One of my faves. Glad to see you on this morning. All right. So here we go. Number one, I'm telling you this one, when I read it, I said, wow. I think that the church is extremely guilty of this. It says cloaking financial information in secrecy. Yeah, cloaking financial information in secrecy. Some finance committees, they guard the finances like it's a secret recipe, like the formula to Coca-Cola. And I'm telling you, people can sense when you're trying to hide something. And if you're not trying to hide something, then you shouldn't make it like it's so secret. Now, I get it. And the article even states this, that most experts believe that the members of your church would be overwhelmed by all of the data that's contained in your operating budget. They would be overwhelmed by examining every detail of your annual operating budget. For instance, churches have insurance. Most churches use church mutual. Your insurance can be very expensive. And I can see a church member saying, well, why don't you just go down the street to, blow by blow, kick it high, insurance company and get the church insurance. But what they don't understand is that church mutual, that they have insurance specifically created for churches, and they know the limits, and they've got the history, they get churches. And so it's specifically created for churches. So that's what makes sense. So you don't want to have a member sitting there saying, oh, well, I think you ought to go out and get 3 bids on it. No, the only way we would go out and get additional bids on insurance, we would get it from church based insurance companies. All right. So that we make sure that we're covered. So, you need to figure out a way to make the annual operating budget available. Now, I'm not saying that you have to put it online. I'm not saying you have to print it in the program or bulletin if you all, attend a church that still does bulletins, but you should make it available for preview in the church office during scheduled appointments. We have nothing to hide. You're welcome to come to the church. Just schedule an appointment. That's a common courtesy that you should give the finance person so that they can be prepared to receive you. But schedule a time. Allow your members to come in so that they can review the information if they want. Now, I've spoken to quite a few pastors about this topic, and one of the things that one shared with me that I really liked was that they actually print it and they pass it out, and they find that they have copies of it just left on pews. But at least they can say they gave it. I love that because I am a member of a sorority, and every single month we get a copy of our financials. One of the churches, and I'm not going to mention names, but one of the churches that I was reading about online, they were going into foreclosure, and the members had no idea. The finance committee was aware, and the finance committee had been trying to refinance. And in fact, they had gotten an agreement of terms to refinance the church's mortgage, but they weren't able to maintain it or to honor it. And so as a result, they went into foreclosure, and the church members were just baffled. Now, it's no secret, there are a lot of churches going through, even my church here in Atlanta. I applaud my pastor. I think that he's done a great job of sharing information with our congregation. On Sunday mornings, before he preaches, he shares. On the screen, we see, here's our budget for the month. Here's what we raised. Here's how much we were short. And here's the plan to raise it. It's simple. Now, does he go line by line and say, here's what the utilities were? Here's what? No, he doesn't do that. Again, that's the overwhelming part. But if you want access to that, then you simply ask, and then you can see it. So do not shroud your financial information in secrecy. Number one. All right. Number two, overlooking the business of church. This is a major pitfall. People often say the church is not a business. Well, you tell that to your light company. Yeah. You tell that to the IRS, right? You have to file paperwork with the IRS. That's business, so that you won't pay taxes. You have employees that you pay. You have to set up their deductions. Yeah, that's the IRS. That's business. There is a business side to ministry, and you have to make sure that it is handled. Now, certainly the church is first and foremost a place of worship, a place of refuge, but the church does have to manage its financial affairs. Um, I I know of church budgets that are, in, $4 million a year. I worked at New Birth, and at that time, a year or $20 million a year. I don't know. It's been quite a while, so I don't have that data just at the top of my mind. But it takes business strategy to manage that. Even copyright laws. A lot of you all are streaming your services, and you're playing music. And if you have not purchased a CCLI license, you could get sued by that creator of that work that you're using. The music that you're using is called a work. So you could get sued for not paying them to use their music. And that's why you buy a CCLI, a creative license, CCLI license, so that you pay a flat fee each month, or you could pay it, I guess, over the course, once for the year, so that you have a right to play that music. And I'm sure, I know a lot of churches have been getting those notices from YouTube. When you are uploading your services to YouTube, and you've got that music, copywritten music, YouTube will flag you, will take it down, and the writer, the creator of that work, can sue you for not paying them. You're treated just like a radio station. A radio station plays music, but they have to pay. They have to pay that artist for their music. So there is a business side to ministry. So do not overlook the business of ministry. Churches are not insulated from HR issues. When you, and this is a big one that churches do, they do wrong. They don't want to worry about the taxes, the payroll taxes for the people that are there. I won't say employees because they don't want to call them employees. So what they do is they make them 1099ers. Well, you got to be careful because the IRS laws state if a person shows up week after week and performs the same skill set week after week, they are an employee. And employees, you have to take deductions and pay taxes on, right? So, in order for someone to qualify as a 1099er, you have to make them a consultant. And you, of course, you don't take out taxes. They have to pay their own taxes, and you just give them a W-9. You give them, am I saying this wrong? You guys help me out. I should know, right? I have a W-9 that I give, right? And then I get a 1099 at the end of the year. Okay, thank you, Holy Ghost. So you want to make them 1099ers. So your drummer, your sound person, the person that's over your daycare. But be careful because, work with a financial accountant, a CPA, someone that understands how all of this works so that you don't get in trouble. You don't get your hand slapped because you've got people that are employees that you're treating as contractors. Because as you know, when you have employees, they're entitled to certain benefits. Even, health insurance. I know churches that have employees that don't pay health insurance, but they offer health insurance, to certain people. You can't do that. You have to make sure that you follow the law as it relates to that, or you're going to get fined. You're going to get, you could even get arrested over this. Let's even talk about offerings. When you have people that come in and take love offerings, are those offerings recorded? A lot of people say, oh, just sack it and take it with you. That's illegal. The IRS says that as a nonprofit, any monies that are raised have to be accounted for where they were raised. Then they can leave the building. All right. So, times have changed. So I haven't really seen a lot of that, letting people raise offerings and bag it and walk out the door. Thank God we got through that phase. But there was a time when people were doing that. So you have to be careful. So understanding the business side of ministry, because what's going to happen when you have someone that is, a 1099er, or maybe you're not even treating them like a 1099er, you're just giving them a check. If something happens to them and they go file, for unemployment insurance or something like that, you're going to get busted because you're going to be investigated because of that claim that that disgruntled person is making against you. So don't let that be a financial mistake that your church makes. Number 3, allowing a select few to be the final decision makers. These persons should not always include the pastor, the finance chair, and the treasurer. Let me just say this. I never advise for a pastor to A, be the signature on the checking account, B, being the sole person that can make all financial decisions. You need a team. This is how I explain it. If the pastor is the only person giving, then the pastor can be the only one making the decision. I get it. The pastor's the visionary. The pastor hears from God. Absolutely. But I'm talking about the finances of the church. And it takes expertise. That's why people are CPAs. That's why people get accounting degrees, so that they make sure they follow the law of the land. And they put in best practices. For instance, anything over $100 or more, you have to get 3 bids. Some churches, the larger the church, you may say anything over $500, you need 3 bids. You may have best practices that say we only pay by invoice. I know churches that literally somebody will call and say, we need a check for $30 written out to so-and-so, and the person writes out the check. You shouldn't do that. That's poor financial management. You need checks and balances. You are using the monies of all the people, all the members that have contributed for that building, right? For the ministry. And so you want to be able to prove that you were good stewards over what was given. So try to avoid just the pastor, the finance chair, and the treasurer making the decisions, the sole decisions about how money should be spent. That's why you need to present an operating budget. Now, I'm not going to get too deep in this, but as it relates to ministries, the ushers, the choir, outreach, evangelism, they may have their own monies allotted to them through the church budget. So let's say they have a budget of $1,000. Now, do they need to bring every expense back to the overall committee to get approval? No. If they've been given a budget of $1,000, then the chairperson that is over that committee, that ministry team, they should have like a board, right? And that board manages that $1,000. So the board should have, a chairman. They should have a finance person. They should have an administrator, so that the practices that the ministry has for everyone to abide by, they make sure that ministry team abides by it. So for instance, if they need to go out, and buy office supplies, they would submit a requisition asking for, $30 for office supplies. The process may be that they have to go online and they have to print out an itemized list of the items and what they cost. And then you're able to see add tax, it makes it $30 even. You print that out, you attach it to the requisition, and then you give it to the leader of the evangelism team. The evangelism team leader signs off on it. The treasurer of the evangelism team signs off on it. And then they turn that in to the either director of ministries to process, or to the finance person or finance team in your ministry. And then the check is cut. Those are called checks and balances, so that you make sure that the monies are being spent properly and that the processes are being managed. And then it helps at the end of the year when you're reconciling everything and you're submitting a request for your budget for the next year as evangelism team, you're able to say, here's all the requisitions that we submitted. And sorry about that. Here's all the requisitions that we submitted for the year. Um, Here's what our plans were, and here's how they, they met, right? We did what we said we were going to do, or we went over, we need a little bit more, or we want to add another event, whatever it is, that gives you the records to do that. So does that make sense, you guys? I hope it does. Let me know if that makes sense. Number 4 is failing to plan ahead. That is kind of an example. You should require your ministries to plan ahead. You should require your church staff to plan ahead. You know that if you're going to do an event and you're going to have a handout, that you need ink, you need toner, you need paper, you may need to hire a graphics person. And so if your event is in March, then you should submit the rec for all of that 60 to 90 days in advance. Depending on the accounting process that your ministry has, that's you follow those dates are set for those particular reasons, all right? So, but when you wait to the last minute, you can't catch sales, you can't get good deals, you can't buy in bulk. And oftentimes you over purchase because one group may have tons and tons of paper and ink just in a storage closet. And if it's not going to be used, then the other ministry team should use it. All right? Does this make sense? Good. All right. Number 5 is having a deluge of special offerings. That shows poor management, that every single time something happens, you got to have a special offering. No, set a budget. Let your ministry know this is what the budget is for the year. And it's based on this. You can't just, pull numbers out of the sky. We want to make sure that we can do X, Y, Z. So here's the budget. No, it has to be realistic based on the numbers of members that we have, and then use the percentages that are available. Typically, 20 to 30%. I know we confess that we're 100% tithing church, but the reality is only 20 to 30% of the people tithe. So based on that, that's what we can base the budget on. So we are going to account for being able to purchase, the following items for the upcoming year. Now, sure, something may happen catastrophic if the air conditioner goes out, or the kids want to go on a trip that you didn't know about, and they're raising monies, but at the very last minute they're a little short. That's different. But you want to make sure that your budget can sustain those items. And when you have to ask for additional offerings, it is few and far and in between. All right? Because you don't want to overtax your members. All right. Number 6 is relying on too many other funds. I think this is funny. I've seen churches that will have all these different funds that they raise money for, and then on their offering envelope they put that we reserve the right to redirect these funds to where we need them. What in the world? Well, why would you have all these funds? Again, to me, that just speaks to poor accounting practices. All right? So you shouldn't need a bunch of other funds. All right? Keep going. Number 7 is avoiding financial talks with your congregation. Again, I think it's important, once a year, twice a year, or once every quarter, that you have a finance meeting with your congregation. Literally, tell the members, every 5th Sunday or however often it is, whatever frequency you set, that we are going to have a financial meeting. It's open to all members. And we need you to stay after church. Always do it on a Sunday, so that you can catch as many of the members as possible and share with them, this is what the numbers are looking like. We're gonna be over, we're gonna be short, whatever it is, so that you can keep them abreast. The other thing is that's also a great time to share, hey, we're probably going to have to ask for some additional funds for, the next quarter. We see that, the air conditioner messed up. We had to pull some monies. And so, we're going to have to replace that. Also, if you're a part of a church that's buying a building, yeah, there's a lot that goes into putting the package together to present to the finance company. So as a result, you may have to tell your members, hey, we're going to need some extra money and be consistent with it for, 3 months so that we can prove to the bank that we are financially solvent and can handle this. Number 8 is failing to connect money with ministry. Finance people love numbers. But rather than just offering a batch of boring numbers, you want your finances to tell a story. So we are raising money so that we can help the Senior Citizens Center keep their lights on. We're going to provide Christmas for all the residents of the Senior Citizens Center. I'm telling you, when you attach your finances to a cause, your giving will increase. People get tired of just giving to a building. Buildings are, I think I read this somewhere, buildings are the number one reason why ministry doesn't happen. Yeah, because your finances typically are going to salaries and the building, and then to ministry. I know of a church that has multiple locations, and they don't own all the buildings. They just pay rent because they don't want the expenses that comes with owning all of those buildings. So a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't they invest in real estate? Because they are more focused on ministry. Yep. Their goals are more ministry minded. So that's why they're not out trying to buy buildings all over the city. All right. Number 9 is neglecting the segregation of accounting duties. Now, this is important. You got to have a checks and balances system. I kind of gave you this example a little earlier, but you want to make sure that you have somebody that receives money and somebody else that pays it out. You never want the same person doing your accounts receivable and your accounts payable. You got to make sure that you use invoices. You have to make sure that invoices are approved. You have to make sure that you have practices in place of bidding. I think that it's not wise to have the same company year after year after year take care of, let's say, your printing, and you don't bid it out to see if there is somebody else that's newer and maybe more hungrier for your business, and they might give you a better deal. Yeah. And a lot of times your members or your leaders may say, well, um, you know, we use them because they help us at the last minute. Well, why do you last minute? Yeah, you got to change some of our processes or some of your processes so that you're not last minute, so that you can be better stewards over the finances. And then number 10 is underestimating generosity. Listen, this may be more of a stewardship issue, but it directly affects finances. Many church leaders are shy or embarrassed when it comes to discussing finances. If that's not your thing, then get someone that it is their thing so that they can talk and share the information. I'm telling you, people will give. People will be a blessing. They will go over and above with their finances if they just understand your processes, if they just buy in to your processes. All right. But you cannot think that people are just going to give and give and give, and you treat the finances any kind of way. All right. So these were the 10 most common financial mistakes that leads churches to splits, closings, and foreclosures. All right. Any questions? Any questions? Good stuff. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I will be back on again. I'm going to put this over on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified when I have another video that goes live. Thank you guys, and God bless.